goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's appalling.
I feel like it's going to be a shocking segment for me. The whole time I'm just going to be like...
Which
You're
is
not going to
why
ask
the
no
campaign
questions.
can be a bit more upbeat, so to speak, and it's an opportunity and a
For sure, to shed some light, right?
Yeah, and uplifting as opposed to like focusing on like the
bad
horrific
part.
side
Yeah,
of it
for
that
sure.
it really is.
Which is kind of hard to ignore, but it's there for sure.
Yeah.
How do you properly pronounce your last name?
Invidiata.
Invidiata.
Yeah.
What's your background?
Italian.
Italian?
Sicilian. I have Lebanese in me too, though.
Oh,
So,
do you?
yeah.
It's a nice last name.
Welcome back to Daytime. We are here to raise more awareness on the show now, and this next topic is something I don't know too much about, and I'm really excited to learn more about because it is right here in our own community, and most people don't know about it, and that is human trafficking. We have Shae Invidiata with us here today. Sorry, it's a little bit of a difficult last name. She's the founder of Free Them, which is a great campaign going on to do with human trafficking, raising awareness for Freedom February. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
No problem. So why don't we just quickly discuss a little bit more about why you decided to found this and what it really is.
Well, I've been doing this for the past 8 years, and I was living in the States when this kind of became something that was really in my backyard and that I had to face. And I could look the other way, but I could never really say I didn't know. And if I was on the other side of it, I'd be really hoping that somebody would kind of speak on my behalf. And what turned into first learning about prostitution and learning that that word that we equate so much with choice really is better used as prostituted. And when you learn that, human trafficking is introduced and your world is rocked forever.
And a lot of people don't even understand exactly what human trafficking is, right? They could affiliate it with prostitution and so forth. So can you give us like an actual definition of what it is?
Yes, I won't give you the UN
Yeah.
definition, but
your definition.
Yeah, in easier terms. Basically, human trafficking is when somebody is being held against their will. Whether they're brought in and they're being forced, coerced, lured under false pretenses, their false promises, where they're being told you're going to do this one thing, and then they end up doing a completely different thing that is against their own will. Those are cases of human trafficking. Normally, we also think of human trafficking as an international issue where people are coming in illegally across international borders, which is totally correct, but that's also not the case as well. We have domestic trafficking, so people from Halifax are being trafficked to Vancouver, Vancouver to Toronto, Niagara to Mississauga. That's still considered human trafficking.
Right, and I can't even believe that it's like happening right here in Mississauga as well, right? Like, I mean, you said it's happening right here in our own backyard. So, like, how do people even become aware of this kind of thing?
Well, the first step really to fighting human trafficking is raising that awareness. So, thank you to Rogers TV for having us on today, because that is a simple step right there. And being able to utilize the media, we go into high schools and I speak a lot to different high school students, university students. Raising that awareness is the first step. Then we do different events, rally events. We did a walk in Toronto this past year with over 300 people that came out. I'm speaking to a high school next week to about 500 students. So raising that level of awareness is the first step. And I tell people simply, you don't have to do a massive rally, but find out 2 stats, 3 stats on human trafficking, and then go tell 5 people. And the ripple effect will start. And people will start looking it up and say, how can I get more engaged with this issue?
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Now, you were saying that you actually saw this in your own backyard, and how do you notice something like this is happening right around you, and what do you do about it if you do notice something like this is going on?
Kind of 2 answers to that. In my own backyard, I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I'm sure many of your viewers that are watching today, they've been to Hawaii, they've been to Waikiki. Same thing like Vegas, it's very common. You see these girls, prostitutes, that are walking out on the track, and you just think, that's their choice, they're choosing to be there, that's their lifestyle. Whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant, but that you kind of decide to do, you stay away from it and you don't do anything about it. When I started to engage with these girls, because they were literally outside of my doorstep, I lived in a good community, it was in Waikiki, it's like going to Vegas, it's not dangerous per se, but I'd be coming home from my university classes and seeing these girls, so I decided to just, I was either going to embrace them or reject them, really, as my neighbors. And getting And so I said, well, what can I do with that? Other situations aren't maybe as obvious as that, or people aren't going to be walking up to prostitutes.
It's very hidden, right? It's behind the scenes. And I mean, like, even for these people that, they're doing it against their own will, they really have no other choice because the consequences can be severe when they want to get out of that, right?
So 100%. And even like when you said hidden, I mean, here in Mississauga, you're not necessarily seeing it out on the streets. There are certain areas in Mississauga where you would, but I mean, it's happening in massage parlors. It's happening in illegal body houses. So somebody's using their house to operate a brothel out of. So you're not seeing those type of things. Places like in Port Credit in the apartment buildings.
Right.
These people need to get caught. I mean, these people really need to get caught.
Yeah, but how does this even start in the first place? I mean, is it tourism? How do people get lured into this kind of thing in the first place? As you said, if they kind of get one promise and then end up doing something else, how does it happen?
Well, internationally, that's generally the case. So if you're coming from Hungary, from over in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Asian countries, where the idea to come anywhere to America is like
a better life,
right? It's a better life. You're going to make more money. The money you make, you can send it back home.
Right.
And that's the promise, is that they'll come here. They can be nannies. They can do domestic work. For men, it might be construction, picking apples, those type of things. And they come here and they're forced to do the work that they haven't signed up for. And for 80% of those trafficked are women and children, and 70% are for the purposes of sexual exploitation.
Right.
So that's when the sexual acts come into play, where they're being forced into strip clubs, they're being forced into brothels, and those type of things. I mean, when you go to strip clubs, a very simple thing is if you see a girl and she doesn't speak English, that's a little red flag, Like
right.
as a guy who's probably in a strip club, that's a good indication that that girl, there's a good chance that she's being trafficked.
That's horrible, though. I mean, and they don't even have that choice of, like, fighting against the person who's forcing them, that kind of thing. I mean, like, what else do they really know, right? So quickly, we want to make sure our viewers understand how they can help. So they log on to freedom.ca. What can they do from there?
Well, we have a fantastic campaign going on right now. It's called Freedom February. It's a longer story, and the whole history of the campaign is there, so go to the website to read it. But we decided we wanted to take a month to celebrate the freedoms that we have because of people like William Wilberforce, Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, but bring it back to the idea that there are more people today in slavery than ever before in history, which is an outstanding fact when you look at the transatlantic.
That's amazing, and you wouldn't think about that, right?
Totally wouldn't.
We are just running out of time here, so Shae, thank you so much for being on the show, shedding some light on human trafficking. Do what you can. Visit www.freedom.ca to see how you can raise more awareness. Thanks for tuning in to this show, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll be right back tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, beautiful.